Hello, this is Storybooks channel. New videos are posted every day. Subscribe and click the bell.
Caroline walked up the stairs, barely moving her feet. She didn't want to go home. The woman was resentfully silent. Her husband also silently followed her. Caroline kept mentally returning to the meeting with her partners, remembering in what unfavorable light her husband made her look. "Come in." The woman welcomed the two men to the negotiating table. "The agreement on the beginning of our cooperation will come into force today. I have prepared all the necessary documents. We only need to sign them." She, smiling, put a folder in front of each of them. "Look through them carefully. I tried to take into account all your wishes." The men looked at each other. "We don't really understand." One of them spoke up. "Why did you invite us here today? We have nothing more to say to you. All matters have already been settled with your husband. You referred us to him yourself?" "Of course." Patiently, Caroline explained, "I was counting on Hunter to familiarize you with the terms. I think you found them very attractive. This contract is important to our firm, especially to me. After all, I've been working to promote this deal. I don't think there's any impediment to signing. If there are any points that need to be clarified, suggest it. It's not too late to tweak things. Hunter." She turned to her husband, who had been sitting there all this time, saying nothing and pretending that the matter did not concern him. "Why are you silent? We will not sign this contract." Without looking his wife in the eyes and visibly nervous, the man replied sharply, "How not to sign?" Caroline was confused. "Wait, but we had a preliminary agreement. You only had to clarify the details of the deal and agree on the time of signing. What's the problem? I have everything prepared, no contradictions. The deal is transparent. I decided that the terms offered to us by potential partners were not favorable to our firm. Why sign a contract if it's unpromising from the start? Why would we invest in a business that's not profitable for us? Gentlemen," one of the men addressed them, "you please agree among yourselves. We would not like to be participants in your family quarrel. I think it's pretty clear. For God's sake, I'm sorry." Caroline addressed them. "There's been a misunderstanding. Let's postpone the signing of the contract, say, for 2 days. I'll prepare a new set of documents and we'll start working together. My husband and I probably misunderstood each other, but these days of misunderstanding, I'm afraid it won't work." Shook his head one of the representatives. "We have found other companions. My advice to you," rising from his chair, he said, "before inviting partners, you should be able to negotiate among yourselves, or you have a right hand does not know what the left hand does. This attitude is bad for business development. Permission to deviate." The men have left the meeting room. "What was that all about?" Caroline asked, seething. "Why would you do such a thing? Especially behind my back. What right did you have to back out of the deal? Why on earth would you think it was unprofitable? We started working on it a month ago. We were both hoping for a good investment. And now what? All that effort for nothing? I don't want to talk right now." Hunter headed for the exit. "You are annoyed and will not take my arguments properly." "All right," Caroline agreed. "Let's go home. It's really not a good idea to deal with serious matters at the end of the day. But you're not going to be able to keep your mouth shut. I want to know why you changed your mind about the deal." The woman stopped in front of the door to the apartment. Hunter turned the key in the lock. Caroline gladly threw off her business clothes, changed into a house robe, went into the kitchen and poured herself a glass of water. "We need to talk." Her husband's tone made the woman wary. "Let's not today." She wrinkled her nose. She didn't feel like talking. "You've already said and done a lot of things. Let's save the explanations for tomorrow." The deal is off anyway, so I think we can talk until morning, and tomorrow I'll calculate how much money we've lost by losing our suppliers. I don't have the energy for this anymore. I want to sleep. My business cannot wait. Hunter insisted. You'll have to listen to me now. Do you want to explain why you embarrassed me in front of potential partners? Caroline squinted at her husband. Go ahead, say it. But don't use the fact that I'm a woman and don't know anything about business as an argument. I don't think you've ever had to question my abilities until recently. I know what our firm needs. You can't dismiss my opinion. I'm not going to explain or apologize. I've made up my mind. That's how you talk. Not so long ago, you couldn't make a move without me. What's changed? Why didn't you talk to me beforehand? Why didn't you tell me you weren't going to make a contract with the buyers? Is that how it's done? Don't you realize you're ruining my reputation and the reputation of the firm? I just haven't had time to tell you. I've had too many problems these past few days. You didn't have time or you didn't want to. Is that what they call it now? How could you not consult me? What kind of demarque is this? We discussed all the details together a week before we signed the contract. What happened in the meantime? Why do I have to justify myself to you? Hunter was angry. I got acquainted with the material offered by these suppliers and realized that they were not suitable. That's why I decided not to cooperate with them. It's business. We will find other, more favorable suppliers. Don't make excuses. You and I are partners, which means I need to know what's going on in the firm. You made me look like a shallow, flighty person who suddenly wanted to take charge, and it was my initiative. When we started the business, you always consulted me. We made every decision together, weighed all the pros and cons of the deal, calculated every step to avoid making mistakes, and succeeded together, which is important. And what do I see today? Why did you allow yourself to put me in such an unpleasant situation? Why go behind my back and change your mind? I feel like an idiot, because there's no changing your mind once you've made up your mind. This deal is a zero-sum deal, and it's a mess. I cared about the firm, not your reputation. You should have talked about it beforehand. So you don't trust me. You doubt my abilities. But since the firm was founded, there hasn't been a single wrong decision I've made. Why are you questioning my competence now? Caroline looked at her husband and could not understand at what point they began to drift apart. She remembered one of the conversations she had had with her mother when they were just about to start their own business. Mom, Hunter, and I have decided to start our own firm. Can you imagine how great that would be? Good, of course, who can argue? Mother said cautiously. But who are you going to register it with? Hunter, of course. He's a man, but we'll invest the money equally. Remember, daughter. Her mother looked at her as if she were an unwise child. You can't put your eggs in one basket. If anything happens between you, God forbid, the firm will go to your husband and you'll be left with nothing. What's going to happen? Caroline hugged her mother. Mommy, Hunter, and I love each other, and we're not getting divorced. If that's what you're implying. Who knows, who knows? Mother answered evasively. Life? Oh, how unpredictable. Well, if you're so worried about me, we can become full partners. That's better, but I think you should have your own business, opened only with your money. A married couple's business together can sometimes lead to strife. Men think we women are incapable of making good decisions. If they had their way, they would not allow us to work at all, but limit our power to the kitchen, the house. My Hunter is not like that. Caroline assured her. They're all the same. Heavy, sighed the mother. Mommy, you're wrong about my husband. He trusts me and always consults me. I'm better at some things than he is. We have nothing to share. I wouldn't be so reckless if I were you, but that's your business." And now Caroline realized what her mother had warned her about, and she wouldn't listen. That's not what I was going to talk about. Her husband brought her out of her reverie. "I'd love a hot bath right now." At that thought, Caroline even closed her eyes. It seemed the day would never end. Her resentment towards her husband was unrelenting. What other unpleasant things was he going to tell me? About what? She looked at him tensely. "Tomorrow, a lot of things are going to change in our lives." "What changes?" "Don't speak in riddles. I want to warn you in advance so that the news doesn't come as a sudden blow to you." "What the hell is going on? Why are you going around and around?" "You're a smart woman." Hunter began in a sneaky way. "So I'm sure you figured it out a long time ago. I have someone else, and for quite some time." Caroline was silent. "I hope you're not going to make a jealous scene. We're adults, and we know how it is sometimes when a husband and wife break up. I suspected, of course, that you had someone else." Caroline spoke with difficulty, overcome with heartache. Her feminine ego was hurt. She was not ready for such a conversation. But I pushed the thought away. "I really hoped that you'd come to your senses, that you'd have a good time, but you'd stay in the family. I can understand you. They say all men cheat on their wives at least once in their lives. Let's consider it a misunderstanding that we should forget, okay?" She smiled, though inside her, a fire was burning, her heart was bleeding. She wanted to get up and hit her husband. "I was fine with life with you," Hunter continued, glancing at his wife. "I wasn't planning to leave, but—" He paused. "A few months ago, Kathy bore me in hair, a son, and you couldn't do it. We'd been dreaming of a child for years, and we'd never been able to do it. And she did. I want to be with her and raise my son. And you know how important that is to me. I hope we'll part peacefully." Caroline closed her eyes. "Her husband was hitting me where it hurts. I thought we were both okay with this situation. You and I have been together for 10 years, and we agreed long ago that the topic of children for us closed forever. There's a lot more to us than a child. We have so much in common. Don't those years mean anything to you? You're just going to ruin our family?" Remember, Hunter grumbled, that we've been together since college. We have. We fell in love at first sight. Don't you remember how we met? Anyone in my position would have lost their head to a handsome guy with a guitar in his hands. After that, I couldn't imagine life without you. We did everything together. When we got married, we started a business together. Do you remember how we bought our first apartment?" Hunter was silent. Caroline could see how unpleasant this conversation was for him. "And how you dreamed of a car, remember? And we'd bought it. We picked it out together. Our next purchase was a big apartment where we wanted to have a nursery, but we didn't have children. And now you want to destroy everything for the sake of a Flynn? Think carefully, Hunter. We've known each other a long time, and that woman you're just getting to know. Are you sure about her? You shouldn't be reminiscing right now. Nothing will change. I've already made up my mind. What kind of man am I if I don't have an heir? If I can't proudly say that the family business will go to my son? I need that child. He hesitated. And his mother. Our feelings for you have long since faded, and I want something new. That's what I understand. Caroline said slowly, I can't change your mind, can I? Do you want to go to that woman? Well, that's your right. No. Hunter paced nervously in the kitchen. I want you to go. Go where? I don't understand. His wife looked at him puzzled. What don't you understand? He asked angrily. I have a son and hair. We need this apartment. Where will I bring a new family in rented accommodation? How do you envision it? No, tomorrow Kathy and my son are moving here, into my apartment. Wait a minute. Caroline's head is spinning at her husband's insolence. It's not just your apartment, it's ours. We bought it together in equal shares. If you want to live with your mistress, be my guest, I won't keep you. You want a divorce? That's fine. I won't beg you to come back, but everything has to be fair. We have a lot of property that we acquired during our marriage. Legally, I own half of it. I'm not going to give it to your new woman. I'm not a charity. In principle, I'm willing to give you the apartment, but then pay me half of what it's worth. And of course, tomorrow, no more Kathy, much less your child, will be here. Not until I find a new place to live. Besides, I need time to pack. By the way, how are we going to divide the firm? Caroline? Hunter looked hard at his wife. You still don't get it, do you? I'm not going to share anything with you. The firm is in my name. Wrong. The business is shared. Any court would make you pay me half of what you sold it for. And you can't rob me. If you don't want to split it amicably, we'll sue. The apartment, unfortunately, without paying attention to her, continued the husband. It's registered to both of us, but I'm sure I can take it away. You don't need anything. You're single. You have money. What am I supposed to do? Start all over again? My new family can't wait. The money to support them is needed here and now. So I'm sorry, honey. I'm gonna have to give in. You can't do this to me. I'll fight for my share of the estate. For God's sake. Her husband laughed nervously. Only you won't succeed. Get over it. I don't want you in this house or in my life anymore. You're fired on all counts. I've written you off as old age, as waste material. He laughed again. And Kathy tomorrow. He suddenly got serious. She'll move in here as mistress, and you can't stop her from doing it. No one's going to kick a mother and child out of the door, and I won't let them. All right, I'll leave, but I'll get my stuff later when I get an apartment. Caroline saw that it was useless to argue with her husband. He is stronger and probably prepared for the conversation in advance, all calculated and thought out. So she decided to agree with him in everything, just to avoid making him angry. I can't do it now. You realize I need time. You have all night. Relax, Hunter. If you don't pick up your stuff tomorrow, I'll just throw it out to make room for Kathy and change the locks on the apartments so you can't come in unimpeded. That's all. Good night, darling. By the way, I've already filed for divorce. With these words, the man left the kitchen. Caroline looked after her husband in shock. Is this really the Hunter I loved? She thought, tears welling up in her eyes. No, this is a complete stranger. It turns out I didn't know my husband at all. What am I going to do? She was aimlessly writing patterns on the table with a teaspoon. I'm certainly not going to leave you pantsless. I'm going to legally take what's mine. Good. The woman put the documents in a folder. Anything else I wanted to bring? She closed the safe, looked around. These antiques I bought for myself. I don't think Hunter's new girlfriend will appreciate them. Caroline put in her bag a miniature brass coffee maker, a coffee mill, a vintage jewelry box. Let the rest stay. She packed some expensive dishes, wrapped some paintings in cloth. What am I supposed to do with all this? The woman looked thoughtfully at the things she had packed. Perhaps it would be better to take it to the car, she reasoned. I don't know if Hunter will like my choice. She grinned sadly. Hopefully, reason will prevail and we won't have to share forks, spoons, and chairs. Trying not to attract the attention of the neighbors, I carried the packed things into the car. Now it was just a matter of packing my personal belongings. Gloating at the clock, the woman opened the bedroom door and turned on the light. "What are you doing?" shrieked the disgruntled husband, waking up. Sat up in bed, wiped his eyes, glanced at the clock. "Are you crazy? The time is 3 o'clock in the morning. Why did you turn on the light? What do you want here?" "I have to work tomorrow." "Everyone has to work tomorrow, and I'm doing your bidding, darling." Caroline replied nonchalantly. She spread 2 large suitcases on the floor and opened the closet doors. "You told me you'd throw my things away if I didn't pack them by morning. I can't lose my favorite dresses and suits. I'm sorry, you didn't give me any other time." "Couldn't you have waited until morning?" Hunter said irritably, tucking himself back under the blanket. "I won't get any sleep, and tomorrow's a busy day." "Get used to it, dear," the woman said with a sneer. "You will have many sleepless nights ahead of you. Don't forget, you'll soon have a small child living here. You can't imagine the difficulties ahead of you." "I can't wait." She waved her hands. "What if your new wife wants to move in early? So I'm sorry, you left me no choice." "Okay, but can you get ready quickly?" Hunter asked unhappily, seeing Caroline slowly packing her things into her suitcase. "What are you doing?" "Don't rush me. I mustn't forget anything." Smiling to herself, the woman shrugged her shoulders. "For 10 years of happy married life, I have accumulated a lot of things. With what love you bought for me, jewelry, outfits, remember." Finally, the suitcases were packed. Caroline carried them into the car. She looked at her watch and decided, "I could use some sleep, even an hour of shutting my eyes. It would be easier on my head." The woman settled down on the sofa in the living room and tried to sleep, but she was disturbed by the unpleasant conversation with her husband and the collection of things. Sleep did not come. She waited until dawn in a half-slumber, then quickly jumped to her feet, cleaned herself up, and went to work to pick up the documents for the company from her husband's office before the workday began. Caroline, as usual, smiled at the security guard at the entrance. "Good morning, Bob. I thought I'd get an early start to the day. Have you been eating a lot of bleach?" She was surprised when the guard blocked the entrance. "Let me through." "Caroline," the guard was guiltily hiding his eyes. "I can't. Hunter, strictly forbidden to let you into the office. I'm very nice to you, but the boss has threatened to fire you." "I can't lose my job." "I'm sorry, I have a mother and a wife and child on my back. If I lose my job, we'll go to the world. I need you to understand my situation." "Bob." She gave him a friendly pat on the shoulder. "Don't worry, please. I'm hurt, of course, but okay, I won't set you up." "Thank you, Caroline." The guy's blushing. "I'm sorry." "Never mind." The woman tried to smile, though she really wanted to cry. "It's our family squabbles. I owe you an apology for being caught between 2 fires. I'm not mad at you. And Hunter is not so stupid," she thought as she walked out of the building. "He made sure I couldn't get into the office in advance. He knew I'd want to get the files. I'm not going to fight with the guard. He's just an enforcer. I don't want to give Hunter an excuse to call the police. I'd rather come back next time, when things have calmed down a bit, talk to Bob. They'll let me through. He's a good guy, and he understands. I picked a bad time, of course. The guy's afraid the chief's gonna show up any minute. That's why he's acting like this. We should come by at the end of the day. We do not have cameras installed, so we can try to negotiate." With those thoughts, the woman got in the car. "Well, we'll have to find a lawyer. We can't do it alone." Caroline said, flipping through the phone book. "As far as I remember, this man is considered the best in civil cases. He doesn't seem to have a single lost case, but his services won't be cheap." She looked around, started the car. "Good thing Hunter doesn't have access to my accounts. I'll pay any money to help solve the property division problem." Well, I'll try calling. I hope he has time for me. Caroline dialed the number for the law firm. Hello. She spoke when she heard a pleasant female voice on the other end of the line. I urgently need to meet your boss. When can he see me? You know, there was some silence on the phone. There's a window in his schedule right now. Can you come over right now? Great, the woman rejoiced. I'm on my way. You're very lucky, the secretary said as Caroline entered the reception area. Samuel has a canceled appointment and will see you personally. She stood up quickly and opened the door. Samuel, the girl announced, you have a visitor. Hello, come in. A handsome middle-aged man, his dark hair neatly trimmed, barely raised his head and deep into his papers again. Dressed neatly, clean-shaven and smelling of expensive perfume, he immediately made a favorable impression on Caroline. Excuse me, I'll be ready to hear from you in a minute. I have a lot of things to do in production. Caroline sat down on a comfortable chair, put her purse on the neighboring one, folded her hands on a good dark wood table, and looked around. There was order in the office, nothing superfluous folders, books, stationery on the desk. Everything was in harmony with the environment and incredibly appropriate to the owner of the office. Am I listening to you? Finally, the lawyer said, raising his brown eyes to her. The case will seem trivial at first glance. Caroline began, slightly worried, but I found myself in a very unpleasant situation. It was inexpressibly embarrassing to admit to such a handsome young man that her husband had left her, but she gathered her strength and spoke. My husband and I have been together for 10 years. We started from scratch together. The only thing that marred our family life, the lack of children, well, did not happen. And now a young fool has seduced my husband, and he threw me out on the street. You want your husband back? The man squinted at her. No, I don't. We are civilized people. We parted peacefully, without breaking dishes and mutual insults. If he thinks he'll be better off with a new wife, for God's sake, I'm not going to interfere. It is noble, though unexpected to hear such a statement from the mouth of a woman. The lawyer hummed respectfully. I see, you decided to take revenge on him, to punish him, to leave him with nothing? I don't need to get my husband back. I don't need to rip him off. I just want what's legally mine. We acquired all of our property after we were married. So one half is mine, right? Here are the documents. You can read them. She put a folder on the table in front of him. I don't need anything extra, just what goes to me in the divorce. By the way, my husband filed for divorce without me. Samuel was silent for a long time, looking at the woman curiously. Caroline couldn't take it anymore. What? She asked, feeling uncomfortable under his gaze. Is something wrong? Why don't you say anything? Are you taking my case? I'm sorry. Samuel grinned and began to study the documents. After a while, he stared at her again. Caroline shivered, not understanding why he was staring at her like that. If you have any questions, ask. I have nothing to hide. I don't want blood. Yes, I'm hurt that my husband did this to me, but I don't want to hurt him. He's probably right. Our relationship is over. We lived together out of inertia, the habit of being close to each other. If you know what I'm talking about, he was probably the first to realize the pointlessness of our relationship. I'm even grateful to him in a way. It's just, she hesitated. The breakup came out of the blue. To be honest, Samuel said slowly, continuing to stare at her. I was expecting to see another trophy wife, eager to steal from an unfaithful husband. Young, beautiful, and completely stupid. And here, I'm a little puzzled. You're different. I don't know what you mean. The woman frowned. And stop looking at me. Are you taking my case? If you're interested in details, ask. I'll answer any questions you have. I don't have any questions for you. Everything is clear. Rather, there are questions for your husband, except that he is a fool to let such a woman go. Caroline blushed and looked away. I can't understand at all what he's counting on. The apartment was bought during the marriage. It's jointly owned. I've looked through the documents. Everything is clean. The firm is also very clear. We have to split it up. I don't know what he's counting on. Excuse me, Caroline, can I ask you a personal question? Of course, she nodded. And the money, how do you plan to divide your capital? You haven't said anything about it. We've never shared a budget, so I have my money. The car is in my name too. I don't have a claim on the Hunter. I'm interested in the apartment, the firm, and the summer house. I'll be honest, your cases are easy to win. I will be pleased if you decide to work with me, but with such a case will cope with any lawyer, including the one who charges for his services much less than me. You've already asked about my rates, haven't you? Maybe you should go to another law firm. I don't discount my clients, not even pretty ones like you. You see, Samuel, my husband is no fool. Ignoring his compliment, Caroline spoke. This morning I tried to get into the office, but they wouldn't let me in. He strictly forbade the guards to even speak to me, threatening to fire me. I could have demanded permission to go in, but I didn't want to put the guard in an awkward position, and Hunter's just waiting for an excuse to take me down. I'm sure he has some kind of plan. I'm afraid he's going to forge documents related to the firm. I suspect he's already slipped me some papers, and I may have signed them without looking. Don't you check the papers you sign? I've never had any reason not to trust him. We've been working together a long time. We have a family and a business in common, and we both have a vested interest in its success. The woman fell silent, trying to cope with the tears that came to her throat. I can't confirm my guesses either. I don't have access to the office right now. The case, seemingly simple at first glance to you, can turn into a huge showdown, and I would not like that. I'm a peaceful person, used to negotiating, so I'm afraid to be cowardly and back down. Hunter will probably try to take advantage and push pity on me. And I want to get justice and get what's mine in the divorce. Judging by the reviews, have you ever won the toughest case? If I'm gonna go to war with my husband, it's gonna have to be with you. That's why I came to you. Don't worry about the fee. I have the money. You set a price and let's sign the contract. Caroline, I understand your husband asked you to vacate the apartment. Did you get your things out of there? Yes, I took my things. They're in my car. Where do you plan to live? Have you already managed to rent a place to live, or have any of your relatives or acquaintances taken you in for a while? Honestly, I didn't even think about it. The woman was embarrassed. But it doesn't matter. I'll try to go home maybe. Hunter has already decided not to kick me out of my own apartment. He must have a conscience. Caroline replied, but if he's determined, he'll probably carry out the threat and change the locks. I can't get into the apartment, but that's not a good idea. It's already occupied. I don't want to get into a fight in front of the neighbors. I'll have to find a place to sleep. I'll think of something. Don't you want to go to the police? He'll be obliged to give you back your right to stay in this apartment in no time. Come home with the police and demand to be let in? I don't want to. It's beneath me. It's easier for me to rent. It's not a problem if you have the money. Okay. Samuel put a form and a pen in front of Caroline. Now we'll draw up an application to the court demanding the division of property. Then we'll draw up a partnership agreement between you and me. And I will not put things on hold, and I will study your documents right away. I'll do that. The woman started filling out the paperwork. I also want this to be resolved as soon as possible. Okay. Taking the written sheets from her, the man resolutely held out his keys. And these are for you. What's this? She looked at him uncomprehendingly. These are the keys to my second apartment. Usually friends, colleagues, or my most pleasant clients stay there. Right now the apartment is empty. You can stay there temporarily. I'll write you the address. No. Caroline objected. I can't. I don't want to bother you. I don't want to be obliged. Don't refuse. Samuel stopped her with a gesture. You have a difficult time ahead of you. Let at least one of your problems be solved easily. I really don't need this apartment yet. You can live in it as long as you like until you feel you need to move out. But I'm not comfortable. Look, we're partners now. I'm supposed to help you. Don't say no. I can see that you're very tired and need to rest. You'll find another apartment, but it'll take time. For now, go, take a bath, calm down. Get your mind right. There's no food. You can order something by courier, but there's wine at the bar. If you want something stronger, there's cognac. Don't be shy. Make yourself at home. I really don't feel comfortable burdening you. I'm used to taking care of myself. Caroline felt like she was about to cry. A stranger showed concern for her, and her husband, with whom she had lived for almost 10 years, threw her out of the house like a stray puppy. Please stop apologizing and go. The lawyer quickly wrote something on a piece of paper and handed it to her. Here's the address. I'll call you as soon as I get the paperwork to the court to make it easier for you to accept my help. Remember, if you're paying for my work, the apartment is part of the terms of the deal. A nice bonus for hiring me. Are you willing to do that? Thank you. You're very kind to me. I can't even remember the last time a man was so attentive. I'm used to being strong, and I'm used to protecting the weak, though not without benefit to myself. Samuel smiled slyly. The woman smiled back, tears glistening in her eyes. Go and think nothing of it. The truth is on your side. Build up your strength. You'll need a lot of it to endure the legal battle. It's an unpleasant and sometimes quite painful procedure. I've seen it, so I know what I'm talking about. You must present yourself to your husband as a strong, beautiful, confident woman. You can't let it show that this situation has knocked you off your game, that it's interfering with your life. Yeah, I get it. I mustn't get discouraged. Thanks again. Caroline left the office, got into her car. She felt completely exhausted. Don't relax, she ordered herself. Now I'll get to the apartment my lawyer has kindly given me, and I'll rest there. He's right. I could definitely use a rest right now. What an apartment, she exclaimed, half an hour later, entering her new home. It's gorgeous. She looked into the bedroom, into the kitchen. I'm going to order some food from the restaurant, and I'm going to take a bath. I want to rinse off all my troubles as soon as possible. She made the phone call, hummed contentedly when she heard that the order would be fulfilled within half an hour, and headed for the bathroom. She was almost dozing off, relaxing in the hot water, when the doorbell rang. Oops. She quickly jumped up, hastily wiped herself down, wrapped her hair in a towel, threw on a robe, and opened the door. A young man in a uniform smiled at her. Your order. Thank you. Taking the packages, Caroline replied. After seeing the young man off, she went into the kitchen. It turned out that I was hungry. She was surprised to find herself eating a salad. The meat is so tender. I have to stop. Caroline got up from the table and went into the bedroom. This is what I've been missing, she said with pleasure, stretching out from under the blanket. The woman had no sooner closed her eyes than fatigue and worry took their toll, and she fell into a dream. Caroline did not know how many hours she had slept, but when she opened her eyes, she realized that it was already evening. It was dusk outside the window. It felt so good. She stretched and said she would lie here without any problems and worries. Oh, it's evening. I slept through everything. Enough lying around. She jumped to her feet. I should go home, see what's going on. Maybe I shouldn't have done all this. Maybe Hunter's not thinking about getting rid of me. I mean, it's a little crazy in his head. I mean, who knows? I won't judge him if he wants to apologize. We have too much in common. She cleaned herself up, got into the car, and drove home. She stopped at the entrance, looked up, noticed the light in the windows. She went up to the landing, tried to insert the key into the keyhole as usual, but it didn't work. It had changed after all. There was an unpleasant scratching at her soul. Caroline gathered her courage and rang the bell. She stood listening. Strange, the light was on, so someone must be home. There was silence at the door. She knocked gently at first, then insistently. No one answered. Then Caroline began to ring again. Finally, the door opened. A young woman appeared on the threshold. Her blonde hair was loose, her lipstick was brightly colored, and long, unnaturally fluffy eyelashes framed her brown eyes. The makeup disfigured her delicate face rather than adding beauty. A silk robe barely covered her slender legs. What do you want? Despite her fragile appearance, the stranger's voice was rough, displeased. She smokes, too. Caroline's mind flashed. Didn't anyone ever tell you that if people don't answer the door, they don't want to see anyone? And you calling and waking up my kid, who are you? Hello. I want to see Hunter. Send him in. Trying to remain calm, Caroline asked politely. Aha, a stranger's guess. You're Hunter's ex. He's not here, and I don't know when he will be. Kathy tried to close the door. I don't think he'll want to talk to you anyway. I think you've got it all figured out. Then I'll wait for him. I need to talk to him. You can't stop me. Caroline held the door. Let me into the apartment. In case you didn't know, half of it is mine. I have every right to be in it. You have no business being here. Kathy pulled on the door again. Hunter said you're not getting anything out of this apartment. Now, this is my house. I decide who I let in here. Okay, I'm sorry. I overreacted. Caroline tried to smooth things over. Tell me when he's coming back and I'll leave. I don't know when Hunter's coming back. You're not going to stay here all night, are you? Go away or you'll really wake up your son. If you don't leave me alone, I'll tell Hunter and he'll deal with you. Don't think you're going to get my sympathy. I know my rights. You're the one who's screaming like a victim right now. Caroline said calmly, so you don't have to put your head on straight. It won't be long before all the neighbors will come to see us fighting. You don't want the neighbors to know we're fighting, do you? I don't care about the neighbors. Get out. I don't have time to talk to you. My husband will be home from work. I have to get ready. He's so insatiable in bed. Kathy laughed. How would you know, though? The passion between you two is long gone. Hunter complained that you didn't satisfy him at all. Let's not discuss our bedtime affairs, shall we? Caroline blushed. I'll go. Just help me satisfy my feminine curiosity. She looked questioningly at her rival. Don't worry, I'm not going to interfere with your happiness. Just answer one question. Okay, ask. The hell with you. Anyway, after all, do not get off. How old is your son? 8 months old. Kathy answered. What's your business? She looked suspiciously at the uninvited guest. Are you up to something? It's not going to work, okay? Hunter stays with me. Forget about him. How can you compete with me? I'm young and beautiful, and you're already used up. Sure, I get it. Calm down. I'm not going to interfere with my ex-husband's new marital happiness. If you'll excuse me, I have one more question. Why are you two getting married now? Not right after your son was born, but only 8 months later? What were you waiting for? Don't you get it? I love Hunter, so I didn't want to pressure him. He couldn't make up his mind to talk to you. Do you have any idea what it's cost me to wait? But why rush things? I'm not a beast. I gave him time to gather his strength. I knew he wouldn't go anywhere. He'd marry me sooner or later. Look at yourself from the outside, and you'll understand why Hunter chose me. Admit it, you decided to push him a little bit, blackmail him, scare him that you'd leave him, didn't you? Cut him off from your son, am I right? That's your style. So what? Yeah, I gave you an ultimatum. I move out of your apartment by the end of the week, or I move back in with my mom. I'd had enough of the movie house, but then he'd never see his son again, and what was I supposed to do? I'm sick of it. I need certainty, and my son a father, and I was also afraid that he was scared and change his mind about divorcing you. After all, after 10 years, people get to know each other, and your tricks worked on him right away. He got all excited and made concessions to you right away. Well, you see, you know all about it. Kathy grinned. You've already asked more than 2 questions. I don't have time to talk to you. Get out of here if you don't want to get in trouble, and you will when Hunter gets here. Why are you so nervous? Caroline let go of the door and headed for the elevator with a parting glance. I get the impression that you're not very confident about tomorrow. You see, it's long been proven that once betrayed, betrayed again. I'd think about it if I were you. One day Hunter will see not only your body, but your soul as well. I'm sure he won't like it. Don't scare me, I'm scary. Forget the way here, shouted Kathy to Caroline's back. You don't have a husband anymore. He's mine and mine alone. It's your own fault. You should have had a child. Then he wouldn't look at any woman, and you couldn't. So I'm sorry, move over. What can you do? There aren't enough rich men for everyone. But you too, as far as I know, you didn't miss a beat. And I can keep him. Don't worry about that. The woman was awakened by the phone ringing. Caroline? She heard Samuel's voice on the phone. I've filed the papers with the court. The first hearing is scheduled for next week. Thank you. In a voice hoarse from sleep, the woman spoke. Hunter, the subpoena has been sent. Be prepared for all sorts of surprises and even provocations. Not at all, she smiled. Hunter is not capable of that. I wouldn't be so sure he betrayed you. A man who has tried to take away a piece of property will do anything to defend it. He's got something to fight for. I don't think he'd make such draconian terms himself. This shows the hand of the mistress. I spoke to her. Why? So you can piss Hunter off and complicate the property division process. I hadn't thought of that, but he didn't call with a claim. Maybe Kathy didn't tell him I was coming. We'll see, but we can't relax. The week went by without a hitch. Caroline showed up at the courthouse. Don't worry. Samuel took her hand reassuringly. You have nothing to worry about. Now the court will hear the parties and make a decision. I don't understand. Why isn't Hunter here? Caroline was nervous. We have a few minutes. Stand up. Court is now in session. The clerk announced, and the judge entered the courtroom with a decisive step. The court is adjourned due to the defendant's failure to appear. She announced, What does that mean? Perplexed, Caroline asked the lawyer. It means that your husband decided to delay the process, but it's not a problem. He still has nowhere to go, whether he wants to or not, and have to share. It's just gonna take longer. What am I supposed to do? The woman looked at Samuel frustrated. All you can do is wait. You have a place to live. You don't need money, so rest. As they say, there's a silver lining. When else is there gonna be a good time when you don't have to think about work? Do you remember the last time you went on vacation? We were planning to go somewhere with Hunter. Caroline smiled sadly. We travel every year together, and now, that's great, Samuel exclaimed, encouragingly looking at her. Go away, get a change of scenery. It will do you good, at least for a couple of days. I wish it were over as soon as possible. I'm very uncomfortable with you, Samuel. I've overstayed my welcome. You've given me a temporary home, but it's dragging on. Caroline, what are you talking about? Wouldn't you help me if I were in this situation? You're not just a client to me anymore. You've become a real friend to me. The man looked intently into the woman's eyes. She was embarrassed and looked away. Don't think about anything. We have everything under control. Have you decided where you're going? Yes, I'm going to a friend's country house. That's great. Take a rest and don't think about anything. Remember, I'm in charge of your problems now. And Caroline went to the country. The weekend flew by, but the woman really felt that she was ready to continue to stand up for her rights. And even from a distance, she felt Samuel's support. A week later, she walked back into the courtroom. Hunter is here, Samuel reported, and in good spirits. I would like to believe that today's meeting will be the end of it. Hunter entered the room, accompanied by his lawyer. The judge has taken her seat. Court is now in session. The clerk announced, a civil case on the division of the property of the spouses is being heard. The plaintiff's lawyer voiced his demands. Hunter, I would like to hear what you do not agree with the position of the applicant. Judging by the documents, the property was acquired during the marriage, so each spouse claims half of it. No factors influencing the denial of claims were presented. The documents are duly executed. I do not understand why there are difficulties. Honorable Court. Hunter stood up, coughed. Maybe, according to the law, my wife has the right to a part of the apartment, dacha, but she is alone, and I have a family and hair. I expect the Honorable Court to take this fact into account. Why does Caroline need the apartment? Who can she bequeath it to? To someone else's uncle, to her lover? I don't want the property we've built up together to go to San Alfonso. I admit that Caroline will have a man who will not mind to lay his hands on her inheritance, and I will be able to properly manage, including her part of the property, so that she does not become a hostage of some scoundrel. Hunter, the court is not interested in your family problems. We are bound by the law, and the law requires you to either give Caroline the property or pay monetary compensation. You don't want to understand me. Hunter argued, why should I give anything to my ex-wife? She has enough money to buy whatever apartment she wants. It's not my fault she couldn't bear me a child. Can you imagine how a man feels when he's disinherited? I waited 10 years to hold my son in my arms. He blushed with excitement. And now this has happened. Yes, she owes me for the wasted years, and you're obliged to honor my protest. I am, you might say, Samuel, she turned to the lawyer. The application states that your client has a common business with the defendant. Yes, Samuel stood up. The couple started this business together, right after their marriage. The defendant, as soon as he filed for divorce, cut off his ex-wife's access to the office. My client lost her part of the business, thus her source of income. I demand an explanation from the defendant. If I may, Honorable Judge, Counselor Hunter, I'll make things a little clearer. My colleague apparently, he nodded his head in the direction of Samuel, does not have reliable information. Caroline gave her share to Hunter. Here, honorable court. He placed the documents in front of the judge. It says here that Sebastian Clark is currently the co-owner, and Caroline has nothing to do with the firm. Since she is already my client's ex-wife, she is not allowed to enter the office. The defendant has every right, at her discretion, to impose bans on the office as it is private property. But it can't be. Caroline jumped up from her seat. I didn't sign any papers. Hunter? She turned to her husband in confusion. Did you forge my signature? No way, dear. Hunter replied gloatingly. I would never go for it. And why would I? You yourself signed to give up your share of the business, and I, as a manager, appointed Sebastian as a co-owner instead of you. Any graphology test will confirm the authenticity of the documents. I'm sorry if you forgot that you resigned. That's not my problem. You're such a scoundrel, the woman exclaimed in her heart. You tricked me into signing the papers. I couldn't sign them of my own free will. You're lying. Did you hear that, Madam Justice? Hunter's voice was hysterical. She insulted me. I request that this be entered into the record. I demand that she be fined. She insulted me in front of witnesses. Now do you understand why I left her? She's been known to blame me for all her problems before. Sit down. The judge yelled at him and forced him down on the chair with a look. And you? She gave Caroline a warning look. I'm issuing a warning. Just a warning? Hunter jumped up again. You think she can humiliate me in front of strangers and only get a warning? I'll complain. I won't let it go. I know my rights. I'm reprimanding you. The judge gave the man a stern look. If you don't stop being hysterical, I'll have you removed from the courtroom. Samuel? She turned to the lawyer in a steady voice. Do you have anything to say about this? My client claimed she didn't sign any such documents. I have no reason not to trust her. So I'm requesting a graphology test. Caroline suspects that her signature may have been fraudulently obtained. Caroline? The judge had no right to sympathize with any of the participants in the trial, and yet the woman thought she saw a flicker of sympathy in her eyes. What do you have to say on this matter? Your Honor. Caroline was confused. I couldn't sign these papers of my own free will. To start a joint business, it was my idea. We've been developing our firm together all these years. It's my only source of income. Voluntarily handing over your share is like chopping off your right hand. Did you ever plan on handing over control of the firm to your husband? Well, yes. The woman recalled that a few months ago, Hunter urged her to sign the deeds over to him. There was a conversation, but I declined. I thought it was strange that he insisted on it, but I had no idea that he would take advantage of my gullibility. He was probably already planning to put me out of business, just waiting for the right opportunity. Well, the judge looked around the room. We are adjourned. The plaintiff's request for a graphological examination is granted. She struck the gavel, announcing that the session was over. Everyone in the room filed out of the room. You can't prove anything anyway. Hunter smirked. The apartment and the summer house didn't work out, but you won't get the firm, and you don't know when you'll get the compensation. I will slow down its payment as much as possible. Turns out you can be sneaky. Too bad I only got a real look at you now. Caroline replied to his lunge. Don't be discouraged. Samuel tried to calm her down. We'll fight again. No, Samuel. Caroline felt completely defeated. It's not going to work. Hunter had probably slipped the documents he needed into the pile of papers he'd had to sign lately. It's my own fault for not looking. I always trusted him like I trusted myself, and now I'm paying the price. We can't prove I did it by mistake. It's my signature, there's no doubt about it. He wouldn't be so brazen if he wasn't sure. Who is Sebastian? Samuel asked. Where did he come from? He's a friend of Hunter's. Wasn't he surprised that you signed over your part of the business to him? We don't know how Hunter explained my decision to him. Caroline noted. He probably doesn't even know that he's unwittingly become an accomplice in our fight. Today I saw another Hunter, and this one is capable of any meanness. They went to their cars. Caroline, how would you like to go to a coffee shop? Have a cup of coffee, discuss our next move. I'd like that. The woman was pleased. Frankly speaking, I don't want to be alone now. Your support is very important to me. They stopped at a cafe, sat down at a table, ordered coffee. Samuel, maybe. To hell with this firm. I don't want to keep litigating. I'm tired of it, and it's embarrassing. Hunter will pay me back the money for the apartment and the summer house, so I won't be on the street anymore. I don't want to see him anymore. I want to forget that life and start from scratch. As for the business, I can organize a new one. I'm not used to it. I was never a kept woman. We were equal partners. I have a lot of ideas in my head. I have the strength, and I don't need anything else. Of course, it's not easy to start from scratch, but I'm a strong woman. Caroline, Samuel admired her. Why don't we use the first name? I don't mind. The woman smiled. The young people jokingly clinked their cups, cementing a new round of relations. Having finished their coffee, they went outside and sat down on a bench. Honestly, I've long wanted to offer you to complete the case. Although, you know, for the sake of your happiness, I'm ready for a lot. And if necessary, we'll finish the job. Though I realize there's little chance of justice. Alas, we have no witnesses who can testify that Hunter deliberately wanted to take your firm away from you. I don't think he discussed his plans with anyone, unless it was his mistress, and she wouldn't give him up. Why chop down the tree you're sitting on? But I'm not gonna give up. Your husband has overstepped his bounds. You see, some circumstances have come up. It's not just business. He hesitated. It took me a long time to decide to tell you, but I have to. I can't keep silent any longer, and you'll find out someday, but I'd rather do it now. Maybe the blow won't be so hard. What else? Caroline asked anxiously. I thought that nothing could be worse than to lose a well-promoted business. What other problem has come over my head? Have you noticed any unhealthy atmosphere around you lately? Anything strange? People treating you differently? Maybe they've been asking strange questions? Think back. No, Caroline said, confused, feverishly going over the recent events in her memory. Well, yes, she remembered. For some reason, my friends started avoiding me as if I were a leper or had borrowed money from them and didn't want to pay it back. Money's off the table, so that leaves lepers. You know something about that? Your husband, he was silent for a moment, trying to find the right words. He's spreading vicious rumors about you. About me? The woman marveled. But there is nothing in my life for which I should blush. Oh, you underestimate your ex-husband. And what are these rumors? Samuel frowned, not sure where to begin. Samuel, don't be stalling. I'll find out anyway. Not today, but tomorrow. Why did my friends start avoiding me? I've been wondering that myself. I somehow tried not to pay attention to their strange behavior, especially since I didn't care about it at all. Hunter tells every corner the story that you cheated on him at the beginning of your life together. I cheated? Is he sick? No, no one would believe that. He had no reason to question my fidelity. As you can see, there are those who believe it, but that's not all. He accuses you of not having children because you allegedly got pregnant by your lover to cover up the sin, had an abortion, and that's the reason for your infertility. But that's utter nonsense. Caroline gasped in shock. It was nothing like that. He's the first and only man I've ever been with. Why would he want to spread rumors about me? I don't understand. He knows better than anyone what I've been through, where I've been, what doctors I've seen. They say it's just the way it is. But I've always been faithful to him, and tears came to the woman's eyes. She suddenly turned to Samuel, took his head in her palms, looked intently into his eyes for a minute, then kissed him hard. Caroline, I'm all for it, but Samuel stared at her uncomprehendingly. Don't you want to explain yourself? Thank you. She smiled, letting him out of her arms. You've just opened my eyes. I never thought I'd be able to use my most potent argument against Hunter, but now I've lost all my doubts. I'm going to fight with his methods. What are you doing? Isn't it dangerous? Can I help? Tomorrow I'll meet with Hunter, and we'll finish this whole story, and then we'll start a new one with you. I don't really know what's going on, of course, but I like your attitude. Samuel took her hand. Were you being serious about us just now? Yes, Caroline answered simply. You've become really important to me, and you're the only one who has stood by me and who I can trust right now. So why don't we go to my place? The woman saw the passion in the man's eyes. Not this time. Caroline smiled guiltily at him. I have to get ready for my meeting with Hunter. I think it will be painful for him. With these words, she got up. Walk me to my car, please. It's been a long day. I need to get my thoughts in order and be alone. Everyone got into their cars. Caroline arrived at the apartment, found a folder with documents among her things, sat on the sofa in the living room, went through the papers. She sat with the folder in her hands for a while, then stood up, shoved it into her bag, and dialed her husband's number. Hunter, we need to meet tomorrow. What do you want from me? He asked rudely. Are you hoping I'll give you your firm back? You can't. It's mine alone. You've had enough of what you got. There's nothing more to talk about. I have another life. I want to forget about you forever. Calm down. The woman wrinkled her nose. I'm not going to sue you for anything more. Then there's no reason to meet. I don't want to waste time on empty conversations. You're already nothing to me, and in general, do not you allow the idea that I just do not want to see you. It's bad enough I'm seeing you in court. Believe me, it's important to you first of all. Caroline assured me. Come to our place. I'll be waiting. Believe me, I wouldn't distract you from your family concerns if it wasn't serious. All right, Hunter grumbled. We'll see what you're going to take me away from my work, but I know you like the back of my hand, and you're not going to win me over. I'm not gonna convince you of anything, just talk to you. I repeat, it's in your best interest. I won't keep you long, don't worry. She hung up and went into the bathroom. She stood under the hot shower for a long time, as if trying to wash away the remnants of a hard day. Sleep overcame her as soon as she closed her eyes. The next day, Caroline sat on a bench in a small park under a huge lilac bush and waited for Hunter. This had once been their spot. She spotted him from afar and waved. What? He asked, stopping in front of her. The meeting place wasn't chosen by chance, was it? Are you trying to trigger an old memory in me? Don't try, it won't work. No. Caroline shook her head. You think too much of yourself. It's just that there aren't too many people here, so we can talk in peace. You're not trying hard enough. You're my unfortunate past, only now I'm truly happy. I have the woman I love and the son I've dreamed of all these years. Understand, you have no chance to negotiate with me. For the sake of my child's future, I am capable of many things, even forgery, but you will not be able to prove anything. It's a shame you're acting like a narcissistic egomaniac. Greed and spite have shot your eyes. You've completely forgotten that I have nothing to do with the woman you painted in my guise. But I have not come to appeal to your conscience. Your family life has put it too firmly to sleep. But it matters not. I came to give it to you. She held out a folder of papers. Here. What's this? He asked suspiciously. Remember, about 5 years ago, we were at the clinic for a checkup. About your infertility. Yes, we took the tests together. The woman put the folder on the bench next to her. That's the way it's done, to find out who's having problems. I remember the doctor said it was because of you. We can't have children. We had more treatments, but it didn't work. Yeah, I remember all that well. But why are we having this conversation now? I lied to you then. Caroline answered calmly. There. She nodded at the papers. It's all written. I just loved you too much. Anyway, I wasn't the one with the problem. You were the one with the problem. You're the one who can't have kids. You're infertile. Are you kidding me? That can't be true. The doctors said with one voice that you're infertile and they can't help you. They said that at my request. I couldn't let you feel guilty. I didn't want to humiliate your manhood. I was willing to take on the burden of responsibility. I did it all for you, for your peace of mind. At the time, I thought the sacrifice was worth it. No, I don't believe you. And I have proof, my son. If I am barren, then whose is it? That's a question I think you should ask your new wife. Caroline shrugged. And study the documents at your leisure. I have no interest in deceiving you. Do you want to go to the clinic we went to? We still have the medical records. That's all I wanted to tell you. You see, you were wrong to be afraid. Our meeting was short-lived. She rose from the bench and walked slowly down the alley. Hunter looked at the folder in horror. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. She's on purpose for me, slipping this to me now, jealous of my happiness. My boy, my Jordan, no one can take him away from me. Distrust my wife, my Kathy. He took the folder with shaking hands, sat down on the bench, and opened it. No, no, the man repeated in desperation, leafing through the medical documents. Not true. Why did she keep silent for so many years? It turns out that it's my fault. Is it because of me that we didn't have children? I'm the one who's infertile? Is there such a thing? He groaned in impotent rage, threw the folder away, papers flying around, clutched his head, started rocking from side to side, repeating, It can't be, it can't be. I don't believe it. Why did she take all the blame? Why? And I'm a fool. I've been reproaching her all my life. God, what a fool I am. Hunter didn't know how long he sat like that. Then he woke up, put the certificates neatly into a folder, got up and walked down the alley to his car. He felt dizzy. His eyes were hazy. The man got into the car, started it, and drove off. He drove the car, circling aimlessly around the city. Finally, his eyes fell on the sign bar, turned off the engine, and entered the hall. Vodka 200. He tossed the bartender a drink and sat down on a stool. Can I help you? The young man put the glass in front of him, looking sympathetically at the man. No. Hunter waved his head negatively, draining the contents of the glass. No one can help me. Do you understand? He stared at the bartender with cloudy eyes. I just found out I can't have children. I understand. What do you understand? The man lunged at him. I'm not a man. It's a judgment. Life is over for me. Pour some more. He moved an empty glass to the young man. You think I'm the only one. The main thing is to have a loving wife and children. They can be adopted. How many of them are brought up in orphanages? As far as I know, it's not hard to do. I don't want someone else's. I've always dreamed of my own, and I blame my wife that she can't give me an heir. And she hid the fact that I was infertile. Can you understand? Everyone was pointing fingers at her, and she took the blame, took care of me, protected my male ego, and me. I cheated on her. Can you believe that? I cheated on her because I was excited about being a father. A noble woman, said the bartender, filling Hunter's glass again. What the hell do I need her nobility for? The man drank the glass in one gulp. You can't understand how I feel right now, right here. He pounded his chest with his fist. I'm crushed. He pressed the bridge of his nose with his fingers. Then he slammed his fist down on the tabletop. The glass bounced and clinked pitifully. Will you calm down, please? The young man looked warily at the visitor and took the glass from him. It's not a fatal diagnosis, they live with it. But for me, it's death. With drunken, bloodshot eyes, he looked at the bartender. Because now I have a wife, a new wife, and a son waiting for me at home. So your diagnosis is wrong? No, the diagnosis is correct. I've studied the test results. There's a mistake waiting for me at home, and I need to fix it. Hunter threw the money on the table and staggered out of the bar. He got to his apartment and rang the doorbell. Are you crazy? Kathy jumped on him indignantly. You know Jordan's asleep right now. Where are your keys? Are you drunk? Oh, you bastard. Why are you drunk? Why are you so happy? And let you come into the house like that? Yes, I'm drunk. Hunter woke up, pushed her aside, and entered the hallway. Jesus, your son should see you now. My son? Hunter laughed bitterly. He can't be my son. How dare you say such a thing? Kathy was outraged. What's the matter with you? You're not yourself. Go sleep it off. I'm out of my mind because you shamelessly deceived me. Me? The woman was staring at him. What are you trying to accuse me of? Go to the bedroom. Tomorrow we'll talk to you. Speak. Hunter pinned her against the wall. Whose baby did you slip me? Admit it, bitch. I'll find out anyway, and then there'll be no mercy. You're hurting me. Kathy shrieked. What kind of insulting innuendo is that? How can you suspect me of anything? He's your son. You know how much I love you, don't you? I don't want anyone but you. I don't believe you. Hunter went into the living room without undressing. Why are you mad at me? The woman cried. What have I done wrong? If I've done something wrong, tell me. Just spare me your suspicions. I never cheated on you. I don't need to. That I willingly believe, agreed suddenly Hunter. Because you were afraid I'd throw you out with your brat, because you've gotten him, even before you got me. You've got it all figured out. You set your nets, and I fell for it like a fool. You're out of your mind. I don't want to hear this nonsense. Kathy wanted to leave, but Hunter grabbed her arm and yanked her toward him. You're not going anywhere until you tell me whose baby it is. At least I have a right to know who his daddy is. Yes, it's yours. The woman shouted desperately. The fruit of our love. Don't you remember how excited you were when I told you I was expecting a baby? That minute you were ready to carry me in your arms, and now you're accusing me of I don't know why. Oh, I get it. She suddenly calmed down and spoke softly. You're pissed off about the divorce and the property division. You're on edge. I'm even willing to forgive you for getting drunk. Let's both of us calm down now. You go to bed, and tomorrow we'll talk. There was a baby crying in the nursery. Your son is awake. It's not my son. Don't you dare call him my son. What are you talking about? Of course he's yours. I can't have children. I'm infertile. Infertile how? Kathy asked in confusion. You said Caroline had some health problems, but you're fine? Yeah, that's what I thought. Turns out it was my fault we didn't have children. Maybe it's a mistake. You know, doctors make mistakes sometimes. Or is this your ex-wife's way of getting back at you for cheating on her? There's no mistake. Hunter sank down tiredly on the couch and handed her a folder with documents. Here are the test results. I'm sterile. Caroline kept it from me for my own peace of mind. And you took advantage of the situation and forced another man's baby on me. Why would you do that? I loved you so much. I destroyed my world for you. I thought, this is my happiness, but it turned out, warmed on his chest, ungrateful bitch. I did everything for you, kicked your wife out of the house, and you don't even have the courage to admit to me that you cheated on me. I wonder when you were going to tell me Jordan wasn't mine. Wouldn't it be fun if your lover showed up on your doorstep one day and said, son, I'm your daddy? You know how a man feels when he's been cheated. Tell me, asshole, who's Jordan from? At least do the honorable thing now. You know I have enough money to find out the truth, but then don't expect any mercy. Tell me, I'm giving you one last chance, or I'll throw you out on the street with him right now. Don't expect to appeal to my conscience. I lost everything when I was mean to Caroline. Yes, Kathy, who had already seen the documents and realized she couldn't get out of confessing, decided to open up. It's not your baby, and I don't love you. Are you happy now? I don't want to see you and your son anymore. Slowly rising, Hunter said. Kathy backed away. The man looked creepy. I'm going to leave now, and in the morning when I come back, I want your spirit out of my house. The child, it's not his fault he has such a mean mother, so for the first time I'll give you some money so you can get settled. It's the only thing you can count on, and thank God I didn't file a police report on you for fraud. You're dead to me. Hunter left, slamming the door loudly. In the nursery, Jordan was crying. Kathy rushed to him, took him in her arms soothingly and cried, "Oh my God, I'm such a fool." Everything turned out so wonderfully, Hunter didn't even question that it was his baby. And now what? Where will I go with my son? Back to my mom. I can't believe it's all fallen apart. She calmed her son, put him in his crib, and went to the bedroom. Suddenly, the phone rang. Hunter? Overjoyed, Kathy grabbed the receiver. What's up, girlfriend? She heard the mocking voice of Kelly, whom she had been friends with since high school. It's me. Hi. The woman snickered. I thought it was Hunter. Did you two have a fight? Not just a fight. He demanded I get out of his house. She cried. I'm desperate. I have nowhere to go. But why did he do that to you? You had such a tender love. I was even jealous and the child. You've been telling me that Hunter was crazy about Jordan, that he had no children by his first wife. He gave up his hair? Bastard. I didn't see that coming. That's the point. Kathy cried. He found out Jordan wasn't his son. What? Not his son? Kelly was surprised. Then whose is it? Wait, is it John? You motherfucker. What was I supposed to do? We were together for so long, and then Hunter showed up. You think I could have missed him? I mean, he's a very wealthy man. He's got his own big business. What do you take from John? Wait, I don't get it. You dated them at the same time. What's the big deal? Kathy shrugged. I loved John, and I kept Hunter as a backup, so he came in handy. When I got pregnant, I thought John would be happy. We'd be together. He'd propose. I even dismissed the fact that he wasn't rich. We'd work something out together, and he refused to have a son, said he didn't want to be a burden. It was too late to get an abortion, and Hunter, he talked about in hair so often that I didn't hesitate to tell him about the baby, and he believed it. John disappeared from my life, and then I was all over Hunter. I didn't even have to convince him of anything, and he believed it was his. Of course, what else could he do? He'd been dreaming of an hair for 10 years, and now he was so lucky. For my sake, he divorced his wife and took away her company, and everything was going well for me, if it were not for his wife, who after 10 years decided to confess to her husband in the forgery of documents. He's sterile, he can't have children. Oh shit, Kelly cursed. What now? Did he kick you out? He won't forgive me. Kathy was silent, swallowing her tears. He told me to get out of his apartment. I don't know, what am I supposed to do? Where will she go with him now? I hate that Caroline, she ruined all my plans. If Hunter can't have kids, let him adopt Jordan. Talk to him, cry to him, see if it works. Won't he forgive you? He needs an heir anyway, and with you and your baby, he loves you. Now I don't know how stupid I am. It's a joke. Stop crying. Wait till morning. Can't you seduce a man? Wait for him. Meet him in nice lingerie, set the table. I don't have to tell you how to please a man, do I? I'm sure you can win him back. Why am I so unlucky? John ran out on me. Now Hunter. What's wrong with me? Don't worry, girlfriend. It's not over yet. I don't know. You should have seen him. He was so drunk and pissed off. Stop whining. It's the morning after. Get a grip on yourself. Take pity. Men love defenseless women. Believe me, I know what I'm talking about. It wasn't until late that night that Caroline reached home. She parked the car and headed for her apartment. Not reaching the driveway, she slowed her step, noticing Samuel on the bench, a huge bouquet of white roses lying next to him. "What are you doing here?" she asked as the man stepped up to meet her. "Somehow I was sure you would be sad after talking to Hunter. I decided to come and support you." He handed her the flowers. "You are an amazing woman. I never cease to admire you. So much stamina, so much patience, human dignity." Samuel looked at her tenderly. "I've never met a woman like you." "Thank you very much." "Yeah, you're right. I'm really sad. You know, it was really hard for me to put an end to my relationship with Hunter, 10 years together. But now I'm at ease. I'm rid of the shadows of the past. Fate has put everything in its place. Evil is punished. I am no longer interested in my husband's new family. Do not hurt his attitude to me. I am glad that my life has changed so abruptly recently. I don't regret anything because you are next to me." Caroline hugged the man tightly, which means that now everything will be fine.